from the tornadoes and severe weather that hit us this last weekend, and then a brief update on the April and February flooding so that everyone has the information that they need. This week, I requested that 8 counties receive FEMA individual assistance from the most recent tornadoes that came through this weekend, as well as 22 counties to receive public assistance. The names of those counties are on the slides. Remember, this is our initial application to FEMA, Homeland Security, and the President. And the way we've always done it is to take the counties that we believe we have the most evidence for, that it should be a really easy and clear decision to get the yes, to get FEMA on the ground, and then to ask for additional counties. FEMA cannot come in and help individual families until the president signs off on individual assistance for those 8 counties or any further counties that we'll apply for. We are working as hard and as fast as we can to get approval. I spoke with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on Saturday morning. I spoke to President Donald Trump on Saturday afternoon. I've spoken to the FEMA director. We are calling the White House each and every day. Kentucky senators and congressmen are also supporting the state's request for federal assistance. They're also contacting the White House. The death toll from this latest disaster continues to stand at 19. We're reaching out to help those families with funerals through the Storm Relief Fund. We still have at least 8 people in the hospital. 3 are still in critical condition. 1 is in serious condition, and happy to report 4 of those are now in good condition. When we look at sheltering, our numbers aren't going to include the so many people that are staying with relatives or have checked themselves into a hotel or found other places to stay. But we know we've had at least 14 individuals in the Red Cross shelter, 40 in Airbnbs. Thank you to Airbnb for donating a number of nights to help our people, just like you did in April. We have 65 households from Praxel, which is a group that is helping with sheltering. And then many more households are with volunteer organizations or are self-paying. Today's big news and hopeful news is our travel trailer program is now being activated. We have an agreement with Louisiana for 90 travel trailers that are going to head this way. We're purchasing more. We're going to have a total of at least 100 travel trailers to help out people impacted, especially in the London and Laurel County area. Levi Jackson Wilderness Road Park has begun receiving these travel trailers. That's where we're sending them. The first 5 units are on site and being installed, and additional units are on the way. Levi Jackson Wilderness Road Park has really good infrastructure. In every other natural disaster that we've had to respond to, we've had to come in and upgrade the infrastructure, with the exception of now the second group that's at a park in eastern Kentucky that we had previously upgraded it for. But Levi Jackson Park has the water, the power, everything we need. So we're able to bring these travel trailers in, hook them immediately up, and that's going to mean that this program runs significantly faster than in the past. Emergency debris removal has begun in the affected areas. Temporary staging locations and debris management sites are being identified and approved by the local government and by FEMA. We've got power mostly restored to the entire Commonwealth, just 1,201 households or meters without power. That's not abnormal on a regular day, given different things that could be going on throughout the Commonwealth. We're down to just 50 meters without drinking water, and only 200 households are under a boiled water advisory. Again, these are somewhat normal numbers for utility operations in Kentucky on any given day. The Transportation Cabinet continues to respond across the state, where more than 200 state highway crews are in the London and Somerset area alone. They've been working long days since this weekend, clearing roads of downed trees and debris and making repairs. They're also dealing with the previous flood damage from across the state. Currently, statewide, we have 18 road closures. That's a mix between the two natural disasters. The good news is US 27 at Somerset reopened Wednesday afternoon, and that took a significant cleanup effort and emergency repairs. However, highway and power crews do remain at work there and all over the Commonwealth, including the Parkers Mill Road intersection. That remains blocked where they're restoring traffic signals. Remember, it takes a lot to get our roads back open. Those are Kentuckians that leave their family in the morning so that they can make the roads safe for you. Slow down when you're anywhere close to any of our road crews or the county or the city road crews. As we're going to talk about in a minute, we're doing a lot better at reducing highway and road fatalities, but there is more that we can do. If you must travel, please use caution, watch for debris, and never move barricades, whether that's from a flooding natural disaster, whether that is from a tornado natural disaster, or whether it's from no natural disaster at all. You can't move the barricades and drive around them. They are there for your safety. In more good news, we were able to remove some of the barricades on US 431 at Tunnel Hill in Muhlenberg County, which has been closed since April. Slide repairs were completed this week, and the road has reopened. Crews will keep at it, reducing our closure list. But again, if you're traveling in areas where you know there have been closures, visit goky.ky.gov. I was with the Kentucky State Police earlier today, honoring their work and honoring those that we've lost in service to the Commonwealth. But I want to thank them and the National Guard. They are continuing to provide 24-hour security patrols in these storm-affected areas to prevent looting. Only residents and authorized personnel are allowed in the hardest hit areas. There have been 2 reports of suspicious persons in the storm perimeter. Troopers investigated both incidents and made arrests on non-related active warrants. 1 theft complaint has been received and is under investigation. KSP Post 11 is aware of a news story about a stolen KSP Post 11 is aware of a news story about stolen storm supplies. Upon learning of it, a KSP detective contacted the victim and was told that the only items taken were a few cleaning products left outside in a tote. The detective offered to investigate, but the individual declined. Currently, KSP Post 11 has no reports of missing persons, and that's really good news. But if you think that there is a missing person, you can contact Post 11 at 606-878-6622. Importantly, the shoulder on I-75 at the 36-mile marker, that's right on the other side of one of the devastated neighborhoods, is still closed because motorists were pulling over, trying to look at the devastation, and it was causing backups on the interstate. Kentucky State Parks are sheltering 31 people from this natural disaster. They are at Cumberland Falls State Resort Park. They're in 10 rooms. Thank you to our parks system. If you would like to help these families, you can make a monetary donation to the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund. It remains open, and it's the fund that's paying for each and every funeral of each of these federally declared natural disasters, because the first thing we're going to do is grieve together. We don't want any family suffering more, any family waiting on reimbursement from the federal government. This is the very least that we can do. You can donate at teamkystormrelieffund.ky.gov. So far, the fund, which is really covering the last 3 natural disasters, has raised more than $1.3 million from 5,735 donors. To those that were a part of this most recent natural disaster, our promise is the same we've made to each and every family hurt by one of these in the past. We will rebuild every home and every life. We will keep showing up over and over. We'll walk this road of recovery together. All right, I have a few updates on the other severe weather events that we've experienced. For the April, now let me start on this. If you were just impacted this last weekend by the tornadoes, the White House hasn't yet approved FEMA assistance. So if you go online and apply for assistance from FEMA, you're going to get denied. Not because you weren't hurt, not because you might not be eligible in the future, but because it hasn't been turned on, that process, because the president hasn't yet said yes to individual assistance. Now, they've only had the application a couple of days. So I'm not suggesting anything there, just that if you were impacted by this tornado event this weekend, if you apply for FEMA assistance, you're going to get denied. Wait until it opens up. If it opens up, again, wait for the president signing off on it and then apply at that time. In the meantime, do all the work that would be required for the application. Get as many photos as you can, get as specific of details of your loss as you can. If you have insurance that will cover any of the damage that you got during these tornadoes, you have to apply for insurance first. I would go through that process right now, both to help you out and also to ensure that when and if FEMA assistance is available, you've taken the steps you need to for that application process to go as quickly as possible. Now, if we back up to April, in the April storm, we've received individual assistance. I don't believe, and for individual assistance for the April disaster, your deadline is June 25th to apply for FEMA aid. So far, we're seeing dollars flowing from the April event. 1,715 individuals or households have been approved for more than $14.4 million that have been dispersed. And remember, we've still got all the way until June 25th for those applications. For other needs assistance, that's a different type of assistance for the April storms. We've seen 1,712 households approved for more than $6 million. Yesterday, we also announced we're expanding eligibility for disaster unemployment assistance to include individuals in the 24 additional counties who are out of work as a result of the severe storms. Again, those began April 2nd, 2025. Affected individuals can visit kcc.ky.gov. The deadline is June 23rd. All right, we've talked about this last weekend's storms. We've talked about the April natural disaster. We also had one in February. So for the February event, this week, we announced that Kentucky's request for a 30-day extension for disaster unemployment assistance for those affected by the February storms was approved. We had to ask for that because we got hit by another natural disaster in the period of time that people would be applying. So the deadline for the February weather event, if you were impacted, is May the 27th. Also for the February event, after Friday, May 23rd, the folks would no longer be able to apply for other FEMA assistance, as that is the deadline. So for February, individual assistance has now been approved for 6,926 individuals or households, and more than $44.1 million has been dispersed. That will look a little bit different likely than the tornadoes because private insurance is less likely to cover flooding events, is more likely to cover tornado events, so you can't compare them directly. So for the February event, other needs aid has been approved for a little over 6,800 households, and more than $17.6 million has been dispersed. Please note for the February event, the DRC, the Disaster Recovery Center in Leslie County, will be closing on Friday. Other centers in the region, I think we may have a slide for the DRCs, will remain open for regional support and to handle appeals. You can go into any of these regardless of where you live, and they can help you out. So if you're in Jessamine County, but you work in Franklin County, you can go into the Franklin County DRC to receive help. As of today, those affected by the April or February events can go to any of these disaster recovery centers. There are 24 currently in operation, which is just another example of how hard we've been hit. Folks affected by the April and February disasters can also visit disasterassistance.gov to find your county, the established declaration, and any other information that you need. But once again, FEMA is not authorized to provide help through these channels for victims of this last weekend tornado until and unless the president signs off on our application for individual assistance. We also received word late yesterday that the January ice storm, remember that was the ice sandwich. We thought we'd seen it all, and then we got lots of snow, lots of ice, and lots of snow, and it caused some pretty massive damage. Our federal request for public assistance has been denied. We believe that we meet all of the statutory thresholds for it. We'll be appealing that denial. If it ultimately ends in a denial, it will be tens of millions of dollars of additional expense for the Commonwealth that otherwise FEMA would be covering. If you remember, that storm had things like the Lyon County sewer tank collapse. It also really hit Union, Henderson, across Shelby, Spencer, and through Johnson County in the east. All right, from news of recovery from natural disasters to news of recovery for our people who have suffered from addiction. Just 2 weeks ago, we celebrated because it was amazing news. A 30.2% decrease in overdose deaths last year as compared to the year before. We know we still have a lot of work to do, but these are so many Kentuckians that are still with us that in previous years we would have lost. It should be a testament to the efforts that people have been making for over a decade to fight an epidemic that used to look insurmountable. But I hope this gives us hope that we can end it in our lifetime because it arose in our lifetime. We're committed to making sure that the number of overdose deaths continues to decline, and we're committed to making sure that every single community has the tools that they need to provide the very best for their people. That's why we're working to certify all 120 counties in Kentucky as recovery-ready communities. Before today, we had 21 certified, serving 1.4 million Kentuckians. Today, we add another 4 counties to that list, ensuring that an additional 71,000 Kentuckians can get the help that they need. I'm proud to announce that Bell, LaRue, Marion, and Washington counties have now been certified as recovery-ready communities. These communities have put in the hard work. They're making their communities safer and ending generational cycles of crime and addiction. Bell County has been designated as recovery ready due to strong community coalitions such as Unite Bell County and Quality Treatment Providers. The Cumberland River Recovery, Hope, Opportunity, and Resiliency Center for Women boasts over 100 inpatient treatment beds for women and 52 affordable family living units. These units allow mothers to be reunited with their children upon completion of treatment and transition into recovery. LaRue County is partnering with the Kentucky Chamber to host fair chance employment events and ensuring access to recovery housing in neighboring Hardin County. The Lincoln Trail District Health Department operates a highly effective harm reduction outreach program, and the Hodgenville Police Department operates one of the longest running police social worker programs outside of Northern Kentucky. Marion and Washington counties submitted a joint application, and they've been certified. They are home to 2 of the largest addiction treatment providers, Isaiah House and Addiction Recovery Care's Crown Recovery Center. Together, these counties combine the resources to reopen the Lebanon-Marion County Career Center to provide residents with local access to education and employment support services. With us today is Marion County Judge David Daugherty. Would you please join us to accept your official certificate and then say a few words? Congratulations, Judge. Appreciate it. Let's look right here. All right, podium is yours.
All right. Thank you, Governor, and your administration for certifying Marion County as a recovery-ready community. I also want to thank the application team for their hard work. Jessica Bickett and Jennifer Osborne, representing the Marion County Heartland ASAP Coalition and the Lincoln Trail Health Department, guided our application and coordinated with various community service providers that support our recovery-ready community designation. I would like to recognize Brandon Wilson, who is here with us today. Brandon serves as our community support specialist, a role established to enhance community support by supplementing existing programs and services with additional resources. His work covers all 3 categories of recovery-ready community: prevention, treatment, and recovery support. This position is funded through the opioid settlement provided by the City of Lebanon and the Marion County Fiscal Court. We understand that securing a good job is essential for those returning from addiction treatment programs or individuals re-entering society after involvement with the justice system. This is why we fought hard to keep our career center open in Marion County. The Lebanon Marion County Career Center serves as one-stop shop where people can connect with resource partners to assist them in their job search, obtain educational or vocational training, and much more. They also help guide individuals facing addiction issues and seeking the necessary support. The Lincoln Trail Health Department has been vital in providing services to our community. Marion County supports public health initiatives, including the introduction of harm reduction services such as the syringe service program. Lincoln Trail has also installed and monitored 5 Narcan boxes throughout the county, with plans to add more this year. For several years, the Marion County Detention Center has been a leader in addressing the substance use disorder epidemic. Jailer Barry Brady and his staff offer a variety of programs for inmates, including SAP and SOAR. Recently, they launched the REACH, Reentering America Communities with Hope program. This program aims to help local inmates connect with resource providers, build relationships, and share information before their release. The Marion County Heartland Coalition and Family Resource Center and youth service centers are implementing several initiatives to enhance youth prevention programs. Starting this fall, a program from high school aged youth will be offered at our new event center and sportsplex. On scheduled Friday nights, this safe, drug, and alcohol free space will provide an environment for teens to socialize and spend time with friends. We are proud of our progress, and this certification represents an achievement and a commitment to our residents that we are dedicated to preventing substance misuse, supporting individuals in recovery, and creating a meaningful employment opportunities that help our families and communities thrive. Thank you all.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you to the judge, and you could hear from his comments all the different folks that are working to better protect our people, from law enforcement to those in treatment to those in recovery to second chance opportunities. Truly a holistic approach that his county is taking and that the Commonwealth has really been pushing. And because of that, we've got more people alive with us today than were in the past. So thank you again, Judge. And if your county has not yet applied and you're watching, please do so. You can learn more at rrcky.org. We got to keep pushing until our number of drug overdose deaths is 0. Next, we have some other good news regarding Team Kentucky's mission to improve safety on our roadways and save lives. As I mentioned back in January, we've seen a positive trend in losing fewer and fewer people to fatal highway crashes. I think we have a graph. Earlier this month, we announced that we have the final numbers from 2024. And the good news is we saw the lowest numbers of lives lost to crashes that we've seen in 10 years. That means fewer families have had to deal with a painful loss. While that is a great sign, we know that each person lost on our roadways is a tragedy because each is a child of God taken far too soon. In 2024, 707 Kentuckians were lost to crashes on Kentucky highways, and nearly 2,800 injuries were reported. Our focus on safety also appears to already be working this year. In 2025, we've already seen 47 fewer fatalities than we did at this time last year, which hopefully means that trend will continue. In our new Kentucky home, we want to ensure all of our families are safe when they commute to work, school, the grocery store, or church, and we want to get that fatality number to 0. So let's keep doing all the work we can to prevent tragedies like buckling up, putting the phone down, driving sober, and following the speed limit. All right, and finally, our Team Kentucky All-Stars have to be all those that responded to this latest weather event. The stories, whether it's from London Police to Laurel County Sheriff's Office to the Kentucky State Police, the number of people inside those 2 neighborhoods as well that ran out into danger to pull their neighbors, pull people from these homes. Some really incredible, heroic work done by so many Kentuckians. And being there later that day, you could see the trauma that they lived through. As we rightfully worry about the trauma of the families that have lost someone, let's also remember that these brave first responders have seen things that our minds and our bodies aren't meant to comprehend. And let's make sure that every resource is there for them. And let's also make sure that they see our gratitude. So I want to specifically thank Kentucky Emergency Management, the Kentucky National Guard, the Kentucky State Police, Fish and Wildlife, the Kentucky Coroners Association, and the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. That's just from the state end. But you look at each sheriff's office, city police, all the fire departments that were out, the city and county road crews. You had a whole lot of people that were and still are helping their fellow human being. I also want to make sure we thank everybody that has come into Kentucky yet again to help us out. Those that are feeding our people, those that are providing help, any of the nonprofits that are in these communities helping our people. You are our Team Kentucky All-Stars. We truly see God in the response to each and every one of these natural disasters. And every time I see someone standing at what used to be their home and they're all saying the same thing, where do I start? 10 Kentuckians or 10 folks that have come in to help us in Kentucky show up and say, why don't you start with us? It's a pretty special thing, I think, about us as Kentuckians, but it also shows the true humanity of people in general. All right, with that, we will open it up to questions. We have 3 journalists in studio and 4 on the line. We'll start with Karen from WUKY.
Governor, I want to go to a different topic. Yesterday, the DOJ moved to cancel police reform settlements reached with Minneapolis and Louisville police departments. Your reaction?
Well, the Department of Justice canceled or stepped back from a consent decree that they were going to enter into with the city of Louisville. What I saw is the city of Louisville then stepped up and put a system in place that has most all of the provisions of the consent decree, and will even have outside groups that monitor it. I think that a lot of credit should go to the city and to the chief of LMPD, because they are doing this voluntarily, putting these things in place because they want everybody in the community to be safe and everybody to feel safe. And they want to make sure that they have a police force that every single community in that city can believe is serving them. Austin from Spectrum News.
Thank you, Governor. Early in this morning, the House passed Donald Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill. Republicans tout the 15% tax cut for working-class Kentucky families, doubling the child tax credit. But there's a lot of concern with SNAP benefits and Medicaid cuts. What is your reaction to that bill?
Yeah, the so-called big, beautiful bill is going to lead to more Kentuckians not being able to see a doctor, not having health care coverage, less revenue to support our rural hospitals and health systems, and it's going to leave more of our kids and seniors going hungry. Now, my faith tells me that we should make sure that in the very least, everybody has enough to eat. The miracle of the fishes and the loaves is one of the only miracles in every book of the gospel, and I'd like to think we ought to be following it. You look at the estimates from the CBO, which is there to provide Congress with official estimates, and it's somewhere between 7.5 million Americans and depending on how far out you go, 13 million Americans that will lose their health care coverage. We are a state of 4.4 million people. That is more people losing their ability to go see a doctor than live in the entire Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's wrong. It's cruel, and it's going to put any of the policies that they want to pass is going to be borne by those that will lose their health care coverage and food assistance. Carolina from WLEX.
Governor, can you tell us a little bit more about your conversations that you're having with the Homeland Security Secretary, specifically President Donald Trump? What have you been hearing from them?
The secretary called me the morning, I want to say 9 a.m. After the tornado had come through, said she was hurting for the people of Kentucky and that they wanted to be there as a resource to help. President Trump called right after I'd finished the press update after visiting the communities that had been hit on the same day. Said he cared about the people of Kentucky, asked how bad it was, where we were on the death toll, asked for some other specifics. but said he wanted to send his FEMA A team here. Told him, in fact, that the FEMA team that he had on the ground for the other two natural disasters was operating very well. I hope that's a sign that that they will sign off on the application for individual and public assistance, because we certainly need their help. And I'll say this: I disagree with this president on a lot of things, but the FEMA operation on the ground under his administration has been good. In fact, it's been really good. So my hope is that he will sign off on these applications so we can move some of these same people who've done a really good job for some of the natural disasters where the deadlines are coming over to this area, because we've seen their performance and they've helped our people. I think to have credibility in this role, no matter who's president, if they do something that helps your people, they ought to get credit for it. And if they do something that harms your people, then you ought to stand up and speak out about it. But the conversations have been good and very positive. Both conversations were only about the people of Kentucky and how we've been hurt and how hopefully the federal government could help. All right, we got Tom from Kentucky today on the line.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon to you. In your letter to the president on the latest weather issues, you'd mentioned in there that there was like $56 million estimated the cost of debris removal. Do you have any other figures on those other categories that appear in that letter yet?
We don't yet. When we look at the different costs that we'll be facing, first, there's all the costs that could be reimbursed, at least in part, of the emergency response. So when this happens, we surge every resource in, especially for the rescue operation. And so when FEMA provides public assistance, you can reimburse some of those costs. Because, for instance, we've got, I think, Harrodsburg Police Department sent some extra police officers down to Somerset. And so when you get public assistance, it helps to compensate for some of those extra and additional costs. Then we'll have the costs of public damage. If you think about the vehicles owned by the police, the sheriff's office, EMS, fire, any of those that have been damaged, potentially depending on who owns it, the helicopter, the rescue helicopter that's out at the airport, the damage at the airport itself, those are all potentially things that would qualify. Then we have our travel trailer program, and not just that, but the dollars to house people in the first couple days and weeks, the dollars it takes to house people at our state parks, and then ultimately that travel trailer program where we provide additional support. Other things that we do if FEMA comes in is we do case management. We make sure that we know these families and we see all the different challenges they're facing, and we try to address them. So, this will easily be $100+ million, if not significantly north of that, which I think it will be, natural disaster, and that comes on the top of all the others. And that's why, again, I hope in the next legislative session, we won't have these artificial limits put on the state, that we've been able to, thankfully, get public assistance fast enough in some other instances to not run over the caps that we have on responding to natural disasters. But this is two that we've been approved for this year, this third one, and the January ice storm that we were just denied that we're going to appeal. So that's 4 in just that short period of time. And it's not right that we get hammered this amount, but it's also not right to say there's a limit on how much we can help Kentuckians. With that said, President Stivers did make a very strong statement on Saturday, I believe it was, that he was going to make sure we had all the funding we needed to recover. I take him at his word. I believe he's genuine. He was down there wanting to help. I think this is all of us in it together. I'm just hoping for a different budget outcome next time so we don't have to have these conversations. All right, Isaiah from WHAS.
Hey, Governor, I had a question following up on the consent decree conversation. I know you touched on that a little bit. I mean, the DOJ says that it essentially handcuffs local police departments, micromanages it from the federal court. I mean, do you agree with the president's decision to pull out of these cities?
I haven't seen how a DOJ consent decree works firsthand. What I can say is um, the president or DOJ has stepped aside, but the city of Louisville has stepped up. They could have done nothing at this point. They're under no federal obligation to make changes, yet they are working on making nearly, if not all, of the changes that were in that consent decree. I think that says something about leadership in Louisville, leadership from the mayor. I think it also says something about this police chief voluntarily taking that on, knowing that there are going to be challenges, but wanting to meet them. Liam from the Kentucky Lantern.
Hi, Governor. I wanted to ask again about the reconciliation package that passed earlier today. I know that you've been a supporter of large manufacturing projects that have landed in the state, such as Blue Oval SK, the battery manufacturing plant in Shelby County, and the reconciliation package, to my knowledge, would eliminate electric vehicle tax credits and also phase out clean energy manufacturing tax credits, including tax credits for the manufacturing of batteries. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the phase out of those tax credits, if or how it could impact industries in Kentucky, including EVs and regarding battery manufacturing or clean energy.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you know, I think there's some nuance on that depending on when the project is started, if it's started versus when they haven't and how quickly they can start. But pulling back on these clean energy tax credits is going to slow the pace of reshoring in the United States. It's going to slow the pace of manufacturing. And that's ironic given that the president has talked about wanting to increase manufacturing. Well, guess what? The IRA and the other bills that were out there were effectively doing that. We were announcing advanced manufacturing after advanced manufacturing project here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, breaking all types of records. We were seeing the United States make things that we haven't made in a long time and make them in an environmentally friendly way. This idea of cleaner manufacturing isn't being driven by federal policy. It's being driven by the market, by consumers demanding it, and by downstream customers in the manufacturing process demanding it. What it'll do is it will slow growth in manufacturing and in these high-tech areas in the United States. Keeping them in place would continue that boom we've seen, whether it's batteries or chips, but you pick. It's just about any of these. You look at the metals recyclers that we have now so many of in Kentucky. We have the cleanest recycled steel plant that I know of in the United States, if not the world, in Brandenburg. We have one of the cleanest copper recyclers in Shelbyville. These are all areas that, at least future growth could be impacted. And in the end, that's bad for the American people as you see fewer high wage jobs coming if we roll those back. The credits worked. They worked. And whether you like a green job because it's better for the environment or because it provides a really good living for people, it was working. It was pushing unemployment down, and it was really helping families. I hope that part will be removed by the Senate, if not for the original reasons that it was passed, but for the fact that it's really good for our economy. And then finally, we have Zara from Bloomberg News.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my question. You'd mentioned earlier in the briefing how the president had made a major disaster declaration for the April storm, approving individual assistance. But I know the state had also asked for public assistance and hazard mitigation program grants. So what's the status of those requests for the April event? Do you have a timeline on when you'll know? And what does it mean for Kentucky's own response that you don't yet know if this money is coming or not?
Yeah, so if we go through February and April, because I think that's helpful on really the three. In February, we got individual assistance and public assistance, but we got denied for hazard mitigation, which is what I call the buyout program. That has worked really effectively after the 2022 flooding to move people from the flood zone to where we're building on higher ground and make sure people don't go through this time after time after time. I think it's a really effective use of one-time dollars that saves FEMA money in the long run, but also helps our people to be safer. So for February, we have appealed the denial of hazard mitigation because it's in some of the same areas, and we believe it can really help. In fact, it could work into our high ground efforts right now, that we'll be building homes now that they could qualify for that would be safe. You're correct. In April, we received the individual assistance for the first several set of counties we've applied for, and we applied for that first. We have not received a decision on public assistance. We don't know of any schedule, but we hope that it's approved and approved soon, because otherwise that is a huge amount of damage that have happened in our state that will be very hard for the state to absorb on its own. And then for this latest one, we're going to be applying for all three, and we'll see when we hear. We are calling the White House every day on all of them, and we are hoping for decisions as soon as we can get them. In the February storm, we got it pretty quickly. I think it was just under a week. In the April storm, the individual assistance, I want to say, took 2+ weeks. This one, we're hoping for an update soon. And it's a little bit different when you look at all of them, just depending on how you're viewing it. This latest one is some property damage across a lot of Kentucky, but just a massive amount of devastation, especially to two neighborhoods where you can just look at it and know it's going to qualify. All right, that is this week's Team Kentucky update. Pray for these families that have been impacted. If you can, donate to the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund or any other charity out there that you know is helping people out. These are our fellow Kentuckians. Let's lift them up and let's march forward together. Thank you.